Hello, it's Peter here, and welcome to Branding 101. We are going to, in this first video, we're going to talk about terminology that we'll be using as we work through your project. Now, the first term is sometimes really confused, brand. It's important to remember that a brand is an abstract concept. It's not um, a concrete object. So, a brand is the way that your ideal customer or client thinks and talks about the sum total of their experiences with your company. It's the way that not only do they think about you, but they talk about you. So the key thing with a brand is that you don't control the brand as far as when it exists outside of the company. What you can control is the brand message. But the brand itself is something that exists in the mind of your former customers and your future customers. Um, and the brand can be negative, it can be positive. The work that we have to do as we move forward with your project is to make sure that they're always thinking positively about your brand based on their understanding of the way that you treat them, and they're being convinced that your solution is much better than the competition. Okay, so that's a brand. One of the key things to remember is a brand is not a logo, it's not a business card, it's not an advertisement, it's not a website, it's not Facebook. Uh, but a brand is a mental, abstract thing that lives outside of your company, and it's how people think about you. Okay, so branding. Branding essentially, it's the verb form, right? And so when I talk about branding, I'm talking about making sure that your message is crystal clear, getting through concrete marketing tools, right? Now, as opposed to the brand we just talked about, branding is more focused on delivering your message through the marketing tools like your logo, your website, your business cards, your social media. Um, And what we're going to do, working together is figure out number one, what is your message, which is another way to say that is brand promise. What is your promise to your target market? Um, and how can you deliver that promise in a way that is really world class? It's something that really draws people in and is attractive to your target market. That's branding essentially. Okay, brand experience. The brand experience is a concrete event, a moment that your ideal client or customer has at one of your many touch points. Okay, so it may be your website, it may be your social media, it may be someone in your company, or maybe someone in sales goes to an event. Whenever a potential client or customer comes in contact with your company, they have an experience, and based on that experience, especially if it's a first experience, they're going to have a positive or a negative impression of your company. But depending on what field you're in or what sector you're in, you're going to have all kinds of different touch points um, where people can experience your brand. We have to make sure that each touch point is optimized so that the potential customer or the customer or a former customer has a great experience, a really positive experience. Because remember, we're talking about the brand. They're going to start thinking about you based on their brand experience. Okay, so we want the brand in their minds to be very positive, right? Next is brand gravity. Now, this is the most important part. This is really the most important thing because brand gravity is, it's our goal. Um, and brand gravity, and we'll get into this in the next video, but the gravity that you create around your brand is critical. And we would define it by saying, the attraction that is created when your ideal customer or client, when you think about your best customer, you're like, I wish I had, 100 of those guys because they need my solution. Um, It's the attraction that's created when your ideal customer or client is deeply convinced that you can solve their burning problem better than your competition. So there's gravity that is created when you get your brand message out there, when you get your promise out there through your marketing tools like your website, and they say, hey, okay, that's exactly what I need. And I've checked out these other companies that do something similar, but I'm convinced that this company can do it the best. I trust this company. I think that I need to spend my money on them because they're going to solve my problem. That is brand gravity. And that's our goal, is to create that gravity, to draw new customers in, new revenue in. That's the bottom line goal. Now, brand positioning, this is how your brand is mentally perceived by your optimal client in relation to your competition. So like I just said, when you talk about brand gravity, when they become convinced that you're the better choice, that they begin moving toward your company and away from your competition. Now, ideally, that's because the brand has been positioned very well against the competition, right? So that means that we make it very clear. The key is to be different in a good way. Don't be different in a bad way. Be different in a good way. And we want to communicate that clearly in the marketing materials. That's what brand positioning is. The next thing is your brand promise. Now, a brand promise is a clear statement about how you're committed to your target market. And it's essentially the brand positioning in the form of a commitment. So you may say that our product or our service is better for these 5 reasons in relationship to these competitors that we have. What we say with the brand promise is to say, we promise to deliver on these differences. In other words, we're different from the competition, number one, but we promise to give you these differences because we're convinced that we're good at it, we have the skills to do it, and when we deliver on that promise, we're the only ones that do it as well as we do. Our competition cannot do it as well. That's the commitment, the promise that you need to make to your market that resonates with people. It resonates with the target market. To make a commitment that is based on how you're different in a good way from the competition. That's the brand promise. So marketing. Sometimes there's confusion, as I said before, between branding, and marketing. But marketing is the activity of managing and creating concrete vehicles that communicate your value, right? And the brand promise is going to communicate to them your value. There are many different kinds of marketing tools, from social media, print media, advertising, identity, packaging, etc. All of these things are marketing tools. And marketing is the activity of managing and creating these tools, right? These vehicles like your website, your promotional material, your social media strategy, your advertising strategy, whatever it is. Marketing is about communicating your value contained in your brand promise to your optimal clientele, your optimal customers, your target market. And there's many kinds of marketing tools, right? So marketing and branding are different in that marketing is about concrete stuff. It's about paper, it's about websites, it's about advertising. Branding, on the other hand, is about managing, the messaging through your marketing tools, right? So delivering your brand promise, delivering your brand experience. But when we talk about marketing, essentially, if you boil it down, it's about concrete stuff. Brand and branding is about the abstract ideas that represent who you are as a company. And the last one is touch point. Touch points are, as I mentioned earlier, is any number of ways that clients or customers come into contact with your company and experience your brand, right? Or your brand message. And there's many kinds of touch points. Your website, business card, could be a support call, it could be an email, your corporate identity or your logo, uniforms, interior design, your color palette. Touch points essentially where the rubber hits the road. It's not an it's not an abstract thing. It's an experience that people have. We talked about the brand experience earlier, and the brand experience happens at a touch point, a brand touch point. And different companies have different touch points. Okay, so I hope that helps. By the way, you can go to breakthroughbrand.com/blog and you can check this out if you want to look at it more. It's the 10-minute branding dictionary. Feel free to check that out. And we'll be moving on to, in the next video, we'll look at Brand Galaxy and the Brand Money Zone. All right, thanks.